us, Bitcoin means three things. One, it's a new technology. Blockchain technology is a new technology. But to simplify it, all we're doing here is layering into the internet.
Cathie Wood discusses his most recent forecast for the price of Bitcoin. She also discusses the recent market decline, its causes, and future prospects. The cryptocurrency market just saw its largest three-day decline in nearly a year, with losses of up to $510 billion. This occurred concurrently with a decline in stocks, with the S&P 500 plunging as much as 4.4% during that period. Fears of a recession have been heightened by weak job data, which has also hampered growth in key tech stocks. A number of large corporations, including Intel and Microsoft, released Q2 earnings that were below expectations. Rumors that interest rates will be lowered in September also had a significant negative impact on market leader Nvidia, as funds retreated to smaller, underperforming companies.
2011, Brett Winton, who's our chief futurist at ARK now, but who was the senior analyst on our research on strategic change at my prior firm, he came in, he had read an article, I don't know if it was might have been in The Economist, and he started talking about Bitcoin and crypto generally. And we were like, what? And so that happened one day, but then he became fixated on it and we had a brainstorm every Friday. And every Friday, there would be a new story about Bitcoin. Now, it was so young back then, right?
This is back when it was about $1,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes. And there was no way to play it. And so we were thematic. So we were looking at it and trying to understand it and trying to figure out, is there anything here? This is a technology, yes, but it's also a monetary system. You know, could this play the three roles of money? And so, you know, it was an interesting topic. When we started ARK, the two things we lumped back then, so this was 2014, were artificial intelligence and blockchain technology. But we lumped them into next-gen internet because they were both, even though AI has been around since the 50s, the very big breakthrough, the provocative breakthrough, was as a result of ImageNet and deep learning in 2012. So we were trying to figure out, is this important? Will this move the field of AI forward so that we'll have meaningful investments? So as I would say within the first 2 years, we separated next generation internet into artificial intelligence and blockchain technology. So they became 2 of 5 innovation platforms. The other 3 are robotics, energy storage, and multi-omics sequencing. These are the 5 major platforms that are evolving today, sort of like telephone, electricity, and internal combustion engine. Those were multiple platforms evolving at the same time about 100 years ago. Now we have 5 evolving. And again, this is unprecedented and, just pretty exciting. So Bitcoin was back then, 2011, and our first investment, and this was, we had to ask permission from the New York Stock Exchange. Can we put it in an ETF? And they said, yes, you can put this GBTC into your fund, but only 1%. And we said, great. They didn't say that it couldn't rise from 1%. And so we let it rise. And of course, so it moved from $250 when we got in September of 2015. So toward the end of 2017, I think it hit $20,000. So swoosh.
The previous 3-day steep decline in cryptocurrency occurred in mid-August 2023. Jump Crypto's strong selling has also been cited by certain market observers as a contributing factor to the situation's worsening. The trading company has sold Bitcoin and assets worth hundreds of millions of dollars in recent days. The Crypto Fear and Greed Index, which measures the market's sentiment toward Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, has retreated into fear, according to Arkham intelligence data. As of the time of publication, it had a score of 26. With a lot of the losses from the weekend having to be made up by an increase in spot and derivatives activity from traditional financial institutions, the cryptocurrency market is in for another challenging week. Bitcoin can only be filled on the tray during trading hours, however it is now in the CME gap. In his most recent X article on August 4th, Keith Allen, one of the pioneers of trading raw material indicators.
What does Bitcoin solve?
It solves a lot of things. To us, Bitcoin means three things. One, it's a new technology. Blockchain technology is a new technology. But to simplify it, all we're doing here is layering into the internet the layer that developers forgot to build in the early 90s because no one understood that financial services or commerce would take place on the internet. So I was there, and I remember agreeing with everybody, I will never put my credit card on the internet. This is not secure, right? And so they never built it in. So blockchain technologies of all types are an answer to that. This is peer-to-peer technology, taking a lot of middlemen out of traditional financial services, taking layers of fees out. And those fees are anywhere from 2.5% to 4% of any given transaction. That's the first thing, a technology. The second is it's a monetary system. So, and each one of these words is important. It's the first, global, private, meaning no government oversight, digital, decentralized, rules-based monetary system in history. It is a very big idea. And my former professor, now friend, Art Laffer, couldn't be more excited. He's about to turn 84, and this has rejuvenated him because he says, this is an opportunity to go back to the U.S. pre-Fed, so pre-1913, when we were basically using private money. So it will give the dollar a run for its money, so to speak.
Yeah. Why do you think that older people are less receptive to Bitcoin, like Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, so against it? And it seems like young people love it.
Yeah.
Anyone over the age of 50, for the most part, either they don't know about it or they're very skeptical. Why do you think that is?
I think partly it's technology, that there's discomfort. You know, Warren Buffett famously has said, if I don't understand it and I don't understand most technology, I'm not going to invest in it. Now, he did invest in IBM kind of at the wrong time. So that proved, to reinforce what he was saying. However, he didn't give up. He did invest in Apple, and that's been, a grand slam for him. So, but very little interest in technology. And a lot of people pay attention to him, especially more value-oriented investors. Where, in technology, you've got very often you have to invest aggressively. A company has to invest aggressively in the short term, forgo short-term profitability in order to be able to scale longer term in this new technology. Value stocks tend to be, what you see is what you get immediately. So there's a little bit more faith in the future, I would say, when it comes to tech investing. And, I'm certainly over 50 and, I'm all about technology. So a bit of maybe an exception there. But I do think there's just a general discomfort, especially because they lived through the tech and telecom bubble and bust. And they weren't looking at it with the perspective I just shared with you, which is, okay, these seeds were planted back then. They weren't ready. And so if you weren't doing the kind of research we're doing in terms of trying to figure out when technologies are ready for prime time, then they were going to get hurt. And a lot of people did get hurt back then. And so that's a a memory. Losing money is painful. It's I know there are studies. You probably know the studies where it's much more painful to lose money than it is enjoyable to make.
Yeah, I think the risk reward on that was the gain of $1 was equivalent to like the loss of $2. So like the loss feels twice as worse as like gaining $1.
Yes. The third way to think of Bitcoin. So we've got technology, global monetary system, and a new asset class, which is why we are really excited. And the ARK 21 shares Bitcoin ETF is a good example. We have enjoyed tremendous inflows. And I'd like to think it is because we wrote our first piece on Bitcoin in 2014. We've earned our stripes. We had our first white paper with Art Laffer, Could Bitcoin Serve the 3 Roles of Money? That was 2015. And then we wrote our second white paper, Bitcoin, Ringing the Bell for a New Asset Class. That was 2016. And finally, the SEC approved earlier this year a Bitcoin or many Bitcoin ETFs. So we think institutions have not moved very aggressively thus far into Bitcoin.
It looks like the fact that Ethereum's fall happened at the same time as Bitcoin suggests that market-wide forces that affected both assets may have had a bigger effect on Ethereum. This sudden drop could have been caused by big news events or other outside factors that could change how people feel about the market. This crash of the Bitcoin market is due to a number of different factors. Concerns about geopolitics, the stock market, and the chances of a Trump administration all play a role. Yen's unwinding states are also shown. Recent pumps that catch new longs in GX distributions are 2 important factors. The spread of altcoins, which makes things more complicated, creates a perfect storm for the Bitcoin market.